Stop ignoring what your eyes are trying to tell you. Most people over 60 assume blurry vision, a strange flash of light, or a dark spot that comes and goes is just part of getting older. It feels normal. It feels harmless. You blink, you rub them, you go on with your day. But here is what almost no one is telling you. Your eyes are not separate from your brain. They are an extension of it. And the small, quiet warnings flickering across your vision in the days and weeks before a stroke are often the only chance your body gives you to act before the damage is done. If you are over 60 and you have noticed even one of the 7 signs in this video, stay with me. Because by the end, you will know exactly which symptom matters, which one is harmless, and the simple thing you can do tonight, before bed, that could buy you the warning window most people never get. I will give you all of it. But first you need to understand what is really happening behind your eyes, because the truth is not what you have been told. The presenter behind this research has spent more than 15 years studying cardiovascular and neurological events in older adults, and the same pattern keeps showing up in the case files. It is not the dramatic sudden stroke you see in the movies. It is the quiet one, the one that whispered for 2 weeks through the eyes before it ever touched the body. And this is personal too, because the same warning signs showed up in someone very close to this work. A father, a grandfather, a man who insisted his vision changes were nothing, who waited, and who paid for that wait. That is why this video exists. Not to frighten you, to give you the warning the medical system is too rushed to give. Take care of your body. It is the only home you have. Now here is the reframe that changes everything. You think a stroke begins in the brain. You have been told for years that strokes are sudden, unpredictable, a bolt from a clear sky. That is what makes them terrifying. That is also what makes them so deadly, because if you believe a stroke arrives without warning, you stop watching for the warning. But after 60, the real story is different. A stroke almost never begins the moment it strikes. It begins weeks earlier, sometimes months earlier, in the tiny blood vessels of the eyes. The retina is brain tissue. Let that land for a moment. The retina is not part of the eye in the way most people imagine. It is an outpost of the brain, pushed forward into the skull during fetal development, fed by the same kind of fragile, narrow arteries that supply the deep structures of the brain itself. When those tiny vessels start to clog, leak, or spasm, your retina sees it first. Your brain feels it second. So when your vision flickers, when a curtain falls and lifts, when colors look wrong for 10 seconds and then normalize, that is not your eyes failing. That is your brain sending up a flare. And the reason you have not fixed it is not that you did anything wrong. It is that no one ever told you the eye was the early warning system. They treated the eye like a camera. It is not a camera. It is a window into your circulation. Once you see it that way, everything in this video clicks into place. And here is why this matters more than almost anything else you will hear this year. Stroke is the leading cause of long-term disability in adults over 65. It is not just death you are protecting yourself from. It is the loss of speech, the loss of the right side of your body, the loss of being able to walk to the mailbox, hold a grandchild, sign your own name. Roughly 4 out of 5 strokes are preventable when caught early, and the warning window most often opens in the eyes. Studies of older adults who survived a major stroke show that a large percentage experienced what doctors call transient visual symptoms in the days or weeks before the event. Brief, painless, easy to dismiss. Most ignored them. Most assumed it was tired eyes, low blood sugar, a need for new glasses. By the time the real stroke arrived, the window had closed. Here's the relief in all of this. You are watching this right now. That means you still have the window. The 7 signs coming up are not a guarantee that something terrible is on the way. They are an invitation to pay attention while there is still time to change the outcome. So here is what is coming. 7 warning signs in the eyes that can show up days, weeks, even months before a stroke. They are ranked from the least urgent to the most urgent, and number 1 is the sign that fewer than 3 in 100 people over 60 recognize for what it really is. It is the one that often shows up last, gives you the shortest warning, and is the most overlooked in the doctor's office because it lasts less than a minute and leaves no trace. If you only remember one thing from this entire video, it will be sign number 1. So before we go any further, do this. In the comments, just type your age and the word eyes. That is it. No long story needed. It helps build a picture of who is watching, and it tells the algorithm to share this with other people over 60 who need to see it. Now let's begin. Sign number 7 is sudden sensitivity to light that was not there before. Not the everyday squint when you walk outside on a bright morning. Something different. A new, sharp discomfort when you turn on a lamp, when you walk into a grocery store, when sunlight hits the side of your face through a window. It feels like the light is louder than it used to be. What is happening underneath is this. The pupils are controlled by a delicate loop of nerves that runs from the eye into the brainstem and back again. When small vessels in that pathway start to narrow or spasm, the pupil loses some of its ability to adjust. Think of it like the iris of a camera that has lost its smooth dial. Instead of opening and closing in a fluid motion, it stutters. Light that should be filtered floods through. Research on older adults with early cerebrovascular disease has found that new-onset photophobia, especially in one eye more than the other, is associated with a meaningfully higher rate of stroke in the following 12 months. One illustrative case from the files describes a woman in her early 70s, a retired school teacher, who started keeping the curtains closed at lunchtime because the light hurt. She told her daughter it was just her eyes getting older. 6 weeks later, she had a minor stroke on the left side of her brain. She recovered. She was lucky. Here is the how-to. If light has started bothering you in a way it did not 6 months ago, especially in just one eye, do not buy darker sunglasses and move on. Write down when it happens, how long it lasts, and which eye feels worse, and bring that note to your doctor within 2 weeks. That single piece of paper has changed outcomes, but sensitivity to light is the gentlest of the 7 signs. The next one is something nearly every older adult has felt at least once and almost always brushed off. Sign number 6 is floaters and flashes that are new, sudden, or one-sided. Floaters are those little drifting shapes, like cobwebs or specks of dust that swim across your vision when you stare at a blank wall. Most floaters are harmless. They are tiny clumps of protein inside the gel of the eye, and you have probably had a few for years. That is not what we are talking about. What matters is a sudden change. A shower of new floaters in one eye. Brief flashes of light at the edge of your vision like a camera bulb going off in a dark room, especially when you turn your head. Here is what is happening. The retina is fed by a network of vessels so fine that if a tiny clot or a piece of plaque breaks loose from the carotid artery in your neck and travels upward, it can lodge in those vessels and cause a small bleed or a tug on the retina. The flashes are the retina protesting. Picture a stretched canvas. When something pulls on the corner, the whole surface ripples. Studies of patients with carotid artery disease show that new flashes and floaters precede a stroke in a significant minority of cases, often by several weeks. There was a man, a retired engineer in his mid-70s, who described seeing what he called fireflies in his right eye for 3 nights in a row. He thought it was his imagination. On the 4th day, his speech slurred for 10 minutes at breakfast. That was a warning stroke, what doctors call a TIA, and it saved his life because he finally went to the emergency room. Here is the how-to. If you experience a sudden burst of new floaters or repeated flashes of light in one eye, do not wait for a regular appointment. This is an urgent same-week call to an eye doctor or your primary care physician. And if the flashes come with any weakness or confusion, it is an emergency room visit, not a phone call. That sounds intense, and it is meant to, because the next sign is even more specific. Sign number 5 is double vision that comes and goes, not blurry vision. Double vision, 2 of the same lamp, 2 of the same face, 2 lines of text where there should be 1. It might last 30 seconds. It might last 10 minutes. Then it clears, and you tell yourself you must be tired. Here is the mechanism. Your 2 eyes are aimed at the world by 6 tiny muscles each, and those muscles are coordinated by nerves that run through some of the most vulnerable territory in the entire brainstem. The brainstem is the switchboard. If the blood supply to that switchboard hiccups, even for a moment, the 2 eyes fall out of alignment and you see double. Think of 2 flashlights pointed at the same spot on a wall. If one wobbles, you get 2 circles of light instead of 1. Research on transient ischemic attacks shows that brief, painless double vision is one of the most reliable predictors of a stroke in the following 90 days, and yet it is one of the most ignored because it goes away. There is a striking pattern in the case files. An older man in his late 60s, a retired baseball coach, mentioned to his wife that he saw 2 of his coffee cup that morning. He laughed about it. 3 weeks later, he had a stroke that affected his swallowing. He survived, but he spent a year relearning how to eat solid food. Here is the how-to. If you ever experience double vision, even for 1 minute, even if it goes away completely, treat it as a medical event. Write down the date, the time, how long it lasted, and what you were doing. Call your doctor the same day. Not next week, the same day. Because brief double vision is your brainstem telling you it just lost power for a moment, and the next outage may not switch back on. Sign number 4 is a slow, quiet narrowing of your side vision. This one is sneaky because it does not announce itself. You do not wake up one morning unable to see to the left. Instead, you start bumping into door frames on one side. You miss the cup when you reach for it. You catch yourself surprised by a car you should have seen approaching. Family members notice before you do. They say you walked right past them in the hallway. Here is what is happening. The visual signal from each eye does not stay on its own side. It crosses over inside the brain in a pattern that lights up both hemispheres. When small vessels deep in the back of the brain, in a region called the occipital lobe, begin to fail, you lose pieces of your visual field without losing the eye itself. The eye is fine. The wiring behind it is fraying. Imagine a television screen where the pixels in one corner slowly go dark. The screen still works. You just stop seeing what is in that corner. Studies of stroke survivors show that a meaningful portion had detectable visual field loss in the months before the major event, and most were never tested for it because they never reported it. There was a woman, a retired nurse in her mid-70s, who started misjudging the curb on her left when she walked to her mailbox. Her son thought she was getting clumsy. Her optometrist caught a partial field cut on a routine test and sent her straight to a neurologist. An MRI showed she had already had 2 silent mini-strokes. She started treatment immediately and has not had another in 4 years. Here is the how-to. Once a week, in a quiet room, cover your right eye, look straight ahead at a point on the wall, and slowly wiggle your fingers from the far edges of your vision toward the center. Do the same with the left eye covered. If one side feels darker, narrower, or empty compared to the other, get a visual field test. It is painless, it takes 10 minutes, and it can be the cheapest insurance policy you ever buy. Now, before we go further, if this video is helping you, hit the like button. Just tap it once. It tells the platform that older adults are finding this useful, and it helps it reach the people who most need to hear what is coming. Because the next 3 signs are the ones that matter most. Sign number 3 is a sudden change in the way colors look. Reds look washed out. Greens look gray. The world for a few minutes seems faded, as if someone turned down the saturation on a photograph. Or the opposite, a strange brightness, where lights seem to glow in a way they did not before. Most people never mention this to a doctor because it sounds ridiculous. It is not ridiculous. The cells in the retina that interpret color are some of the most oxygen-hungry cells in the entire body. They are the canaries in the coal mine. When the blood supply to the retina dips, even briefly, color perception is the first thing to falter. Before sharpness, before contrast, before anything else. Think of a stage lit by a generator. When the power flickers, the colored gels on the lights wash out first. The shapes are still there. The color is gone. Research on patients with carotid artery stenosis has found that transient changes in color vision are associated with a higher rate of subsequent stroke, and the average warning window is about 3 to 6 weeks. That is your window. There was a man in his late 60s, a retired carpenter, who told his wife the tomatoes in their garden looked orange one Tuesday morning. She laughed. He laughed. He had a stroke the following month. In hindsight, the orange tomatoes were the first signal. Here is the how-to. If colors look wrong for more than a few seconds, in one eye or both, especially if it happens more than once, call your doctor and ask specifically for a carotid artery ultrasound. It is a simple, painless test. They run a wand along your neck and listen to the blood flow. If there is a narrowing, they will find it. And finding it is half the battle. Sign number 2 is something nearly every older adult does every morning and never thinks twice about. Sign number 2 is brief, painless weakness or drooping in one eyelid that you only notice in the mirror. You lean toward the bathroom mirror to put in your contact lens or to apply moisturizer, and for a moment you think one eyelid is sitting lower than the other. You blink. You look again. It is fine. You move on. Here is what may be happening. The nerves that lift the eyelid travel through a long, vulnerable path that shares territory with the blood supply to the brain. A momentary drooping eyelid, what doctors call ptosis, especially when it appears together with any other symptom on this list, can be the signature of a small clot passing through. Picture a string of lights on a porch. If one bulb dims for a second and then comes back on, the wiring is telling you something. Studies have shown that new onset, intermittent eyelid drooping in older adults is associated with a notably higher rate of cerebrovascular events in the following year, particularly when it occurs on the same side as any tingling, numbness, or weakness in the face or hand. There was a woman in her mid-70s, a retired florist, who noticed for 3 mornings in a row that her right eyelid looked tired in the mirror. On the 4th morning, her right hand could not hold her coffee cup. She had a stroke on the way to the hospital. She survived because her daughter was with her. Here is the how-to. Once a day, when you first see yourself in the mirror, take 5 seconds. Just 5. Look at both eyelids. Look at both corners of your mouth. Smile widely and check that both sides lift the same. If one side ever lags, even subtly, even just once, call your doctor that day. Do not wait to see if it happens again, because the next time the lights flicker, they may not come back on. And that brings us to sign number 1, the most important warning your eyes can give you, the one fewer than 3 in 100 people recognize, the one that doctors themselves often miss because it leaves no evidence by the time you reach the office. Sign number 1 is a sudden, painless, temporary loss of vision in one eye that lasts anywhere from a few seconds to a few minutes and then completely resolves. It is called amaurosis fugax, and the name does not matter. What matters is what it feels like. A gray curtain descends slowly over one eye, from top to bottom or from one side, and then lifts again. Or the vision in one eye goes dark like a shade pulled down and then comes back. There is no pain. There is no headache. There is no warning before, and there is no aftermath. It can happen while you are reading the newspaper, while you are pouring tea, while you are sitting in your favorite chair watching television. It lasts 30 seconds, 2 minutes, maybe 5. And then it is gone. And almost every person who experiences this convinces themselves it was nothing. Here is what is actually happening. A small clot, often broken loose from plaque in the carotid artery in your neck, has traveled up into the artery that feeds your retina. For the seconds or minutes that the clot is lodged there, that eye has no blood supply. Then the clot dissolves or moves on, the blood returns, and your vision returns with it. Imagine a garden hose with a kink in it. Water stops. You unkink it. Water flows again. The grass survives. But the message is unmistakable. The plumbing that feeds your eye is the same plumbing that feeds your brain. And the clot that visited your eye today can visit your brain tomorrow. Research on amaurosis fugax has found that a significant percentage of people who experience even one episode go on to have a full stroke within the following 90 days if no action is taken. That is the warning. That is the window. And here is the case that haunts these files the most. A man in his early 70s, a retired Air Force mechanic, was sitting at his kitchen table when the vision in his left eye went dark for about 90 seconds and then returned. He did not tell anyone. He did not want to worry his wife. He thought he was tired. 11 days later, he had a major stroke that left him unable to speak for 6 months. His wife later said that if she had known what that 90 seconds meant, she would have driven him to the hospital that same hour. You are hearing this video now so that you, or someone you love, will not make that same silence. Here is the how-to, and this one is not optional. If you ever experience a sudden, painless, temporary loss of vision in one eye, even if it lasts only a few seconds, even if it has already gone away, even if you feel completely fine right now, treat it as a stroke in progress. Go to the emergency room, not the eye doctor, not your primary care office. The emergency room. Tell them the exact words, "I had an episode of amaurosis fugax." They will know what to do. They will scan your carotid arteries. They will scan your brain. And if there is a problem, they will catch it before it becomes the kind of problem you do not come back from. Now you may be wondering why no one ever told you any of this. Why your last doctor's appointment was 12 minutes long and nobody asked about your vision. Why the eye doctor checked your prescription but not your retinas for vascular changes. Why none of this is on the pamphlets in the waiting room. The honest answer is not that doctors do not care. Most of them care deeply. The honest answer is that the system they work inside is built for speed and for treatment, not for prevention, and not for the kind of patient education that takes 30 minutes per visit. The average primary care appointment in this country is now under 15 minutes. There is no time to teach you the 7 warning signs of stroke. There is barely time to refill your medications. And the pharmaceutical industry, which funds a great deal of the educational material your doctor receives, is far more interested in selling you the treatment after a stroke than in helping you avoid one. That is not a conspiracy. That is just how the incentives line up. You are not being failed because anyone is malicious. You are being failed because the structure does not reward the kind of slow, careful, preventive conversation that would have saved that retired Air Force mechanic. So you have to be your own first responder. And now you are. Let us bring it all together. 7 signs. Sensitivity to light that is new and one-sided. Sudden floaters and flashes. Double vision that comes and goes. A slow narrowing of your side vision. A change in the way colors look. A drooping eyelid in the morning mirror. And the most important one, a painless temporary loss of vision in one eye that comes and goes like a curtain. If you remember nothing else, remember that last one. Write it on a sticky note. Put it on the bathroom mirror. Tell your spouse. Tell your children. Tell anyone you love who is over 60. And now, the most important thing. You are not broken. Your body is not betraying you. Your eyes are not failing you. The opposite is true. Your eyes have been doing exactly what they were designed to do, which is to warn you. The fact that you are watching this video, that you stayed all the way to the end, that you are willing to learn something new at this stage of your life, tells me everything about the kind of person you are. You are someone who refuses to accept decline as inevitable. You are someone who still wants to be there for your grandchildren, your spouse, your friends, your garden, your morning coffee, your Sunday phone calls. You deserve every one of those mornings. So here's the challenge. For the next 14 days, every single morning when you look in the mirror, take 10 seconds. Check both eyelids. Smile and check both sides of your face. Cover one eye and look around the room, then cover the other. 10 seconds. That is it. If anything looks different, write it down. If anything happens that matches one of the 7 signs in this video, do not wait. Make the call. And if you know someone over 60, a parent, a sibling, a neighbor, a friend from church, share this video with them today. Do not wait for the right moment. The right moment is now. One conversation, one shared link, one 5-minute warning could be the difference between a stroke that is prevented and a life that is changed forever. Take care of your body. It is the only home you have.